putting together a golf cart, but it's really more of a mini car. I don't want to say what it is yet. I want you to kind of figure it out. And if you can see the way this looks, you probably have an idea. If you're, but you typically have a golf cart setup where, and I'll overlay a picture, but you have a headlamp. That's usually a white light, and then you have a colored marker. They have separate lights, and you're all good. I don't have that, so I'm using these 5.75 inch, essentially they're motorcycle lights. One of the things that when I was buying it, I saw is that they have a really cool amber glow. And let's see, I know I already have this hooked up, but I will show that amber glow. So I put the flasher on so you can see the things that are flashing. That amber color is really cool. The issue is that amber is also part of the entire light. So as you can see now, I have the running lights on. This is what happens now when I put on the blinker. So I'll leave it on so I can show you. So when I have the blinker, this is coming on, which is great. The rear is coming on, and that's the brake light. So the running tail light was already on, and now the brake light is on, and I apologize if I'm giving you a seizure. And then over here, you have the amber coming on, but when the running light is on, you also have the white light that's there too. So I'm gonna turn this off. So I don't want that. What I do want is that when I turn on that blinker, I essentially have this happening. So I gotta figure out. So I essentially want this to turn off while I have that blinker. You see that in a lot of cars. The first thing is just an overview of relays. Again, I linked the wiring rescue video so that you can see that better, because he does a great job of explaining everything, and that's where I learned everything from. So on a 5-pin relay specifically, so on a 5-pin relay, you have 5 pins. There are 5 places where you make electrical connections. The 2 that I think are the most important are the ones that are already labeled. So you're going to have your main power, and that's going to be pin 30. That's where stuff is, or that's where power is coming in. And then you're going to have pin 86, which is your switch or activation. So this is the one that when a signal or power comes into pin 86, it tells the relay to act. And the way that the relay acts is by activating pin 87, which is here at the top. So this is, I'll say this goes to what is being activated. So that's what you're going to activate. This, again, 86 tells the relay to turn on or start doing its job. And 87 is the job, it connects to the job that is going to be done. 85 is your ground, usually indicated by that, just grounds the switch, completes the circuit. But when this relay is not active, so when pin 86 isn't getting a signal, these two, and I'll use it. I didn't want to do this, didn't want to get fancy. But anyway, 87A and 30 are connected. So usually there's nothing here at 87A, so there's nothing that is receiving power or hot. But pin 30 is going to be receiving power, and when this switch is not activated, it is connected to 87A. I don't know why it did that. All right, 87A. So when this switch is activated, so something is putting power into pin 86, then this actually cuts off and it reroutes that power over to from pin 30 and now connects it to pin 87. Since first I have my turn signal switch. It has its little indicators on there. It's the RHOX, whatever. It's a little square thing. It has the switch coming out of it. That switch has a little dial to turn on and off my running lights. It also can go again up, down for my signals. RHOX. I know what you're thinking. How am I gonna get to uh, 10 minutes or less by doing all these drawings, but I think it'll help. So then you have your little pigtail harness, or I have my little pigtail harness. It connects to this connector over here. Okay, they don't want me to have it. So it goes to that connector over here, and then that goes out in a variety of colors and lines that connect to the different things, the different lights. So your running headlights, your high beam, your this, that, the other. You also have your flasher signal, which has two prongs on it. And the way that mine was connected, there was the one that the output one was a blue line that was going back up into here. And then there were two, one power that was going up in there and that was connected, and then it went to my harness. What I figured out is that the first, they were just both, the power was just connected at one point, so that it was like an always hot or always receiving power situation, and then that went up to power the entire switch. So whenever the switch needed to reroute power down one of these lines, that's where it got its main source of power. But then also when this blinked, it would blink, and I would guess connect to certain terminals in this housing here to flash on the appropriate thing. So it would flash on the lights. It would also flash on, which will be important later when I get to the real life part of the video, but flashing on these little buttons on the turn signal switch. And you can hear there's a little relay in there. The other thing that I have, which is important, is my battery. I have a negative and I have a positive. So what else do I have? Well, I have my headlights, I have my tail lights, and then I have my LED markers in the front. I also have my amber halos, and I have an amber amber turn signal light in the back. So this is pretty much everything that I had. So I'm going to tell you what I did first, because we need a relay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pin relay. So what I did first was say, all right, let me connect my relay to my ground. There was one wire. I'm trying to do something here. Okay. All right, so there was one wire that was coming out. It was a gray wire. I won't play with the wiring right now. There's a gray wire. That was my running light, and that gray wire would connect to I just had like a little junction, because that was one wire that when we kicked it up a notch here, it would turn on my running lights. So I wanted one for passenger, or I have one coming from the passenger side to that junction, and from the driver's side to that junction as well, but there's one switch to do it and one line that comes out to give it power. So I said what I want to happen is I want the relay to essentially, when it's switched on or when it's active, it is going to turn off my headlights, right? So I said, all right, well, it makes sense that the line that comes out that normally, and we're just going to do driver's side, so I'm going to go ahead and erase the passenger side for now. Erase this side too. Oh no, I'll leave that there. It's not interfering. But when I said, all right, these two have a line, they're the same line, and normally it goes from here to here, switch, 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 that'll turn on. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is connect, I'm going to sever this connection. And then I'm going to connect this to my activate switch on the, or activate terminal on the relay. And then it's going to tell this thing to be on. And that thing that I want to be on is my flasher, right? The thing that I want to be off is going to be my running lights. So I also severed connections over here. So I said for my running lights, instead of connecting them, and I had to separate them. So my driver one, instead of connecting it to that junction and right out of this switch, I'm going to connect it to pin 87A. And then the actual switch part, I'm going to connect it to pin 30. So my thinking was, oh, and then there's power going into the switch, right? So my thinking was, all right, when I have this, wrong thing. We'll use green. So when I have this switched on, power will go here, and I'm good to flash. Check. And when I want to turn on my headlights and not have any flash, power is coming into here. It will connect here, and then it'll go to my headlights. Check. This didn't work. What ended up happening was everything flashed. When I turned on the headlight, it worked. When I clicked on the flasher, I just got flashing stuff. And I was like, well, why is it flashing? And then I realized, well, the flasher is located, flasher's located over here. And if the flasher's located over there, then that means flashing input is being sent into this control box and then out through the entire harness and then everywhere else. So I said I need to sever these ties. So first thing I did was cut these wires, so the blue one and the red, well, both, all three, blue, red, and red, and I joined them together, and then I relocated this relay. So I'm just going to show you what worked. If you want the full scope of what didn't work, you can check out my very long other video that shows all of that. But this one, it's already been long, so I'm not going to lengthen it anymore. But what I will do is just show you now where everything goes so that you can see the right way to do it. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So what I need to do is relocate this. So take that out of there and I'm going to put it somewhere else. But I needed to use 2 relays. And hopefully I'm going to go through my methodology. So hopefully that helps you with whatever it is you have to do. And if you're doing the same thing, then just follow these steps. If you're not doing the same thing, hopefully the thinking and stuff behind it goes and gives you what you need. So at first, when I connected to one relay, what I didn't understand, and I'll just show you how I connected it. So turn signal wire was going to turn on my switch, and that was going to go out, go to the flasher relay, because this is what I wanted to flash, and then that flasher would connect to my lights. That would turn it on, right? Let's put that so you know that those aren't, yeah. So that would turn that on, and then I said, all right, I'm going to use the blue line coming from the turn signal box that goes to the light, connect it to pin 30, and then I'm going to connect pin 87A to the light so that this always has power. And when I turn on my running lights, it has power, it goes to the running light, it turns on. And then when I turn on my flasher, it will turn off and then power will go to the relay. So I did this and this did not work. And the reason why it didn't work, which is very important why we're using 2 relays, is because pin 30 is connected to pin 87A, like so. But when this relay is activated, I thought that power was going from here to here, but that is not true. It is just transferring this power from 30 up top to 87. That's what it is doing. So the flasher doesn't just send power where you want it to 87A. I thought, again, it was power going from pin 86 to 87, but what pin 86 does is cut the connection between 87 and 30 and then establish the connection between 30 and 87. When I learned that, it made my life, well, it let me know why things weren't working, which is what I wanted to know. And then said, all right, here's how you make things. Well, it didn't tell me how to make things work, but I had to figure it out. So the way I figured it out was this, I still want to happen, but I need a second relay. And on the first relay, because I want the flasher to turn on and not be dependent on whether or not the light switch is on, it needs to have its own independent power. So this little line here, I have a little junction, power junction. Keep my power junction, please. I have a little power junction, so I said, all right, pin 30, you're going to get constant power here. So that lets me know that as soon as I turn on the flasher, I am going to be able to route power from my power bank to this relay. So they're going to be connected here when it's not on. But when it is on, when this pin gets a signal, it'll then allow this to turn on. That is my check. So that's constant power, not power dependent on the turn signal switch. So I am good there. So this works, but I also need to connect my my light switch, right? So I said I'm going to use the second relay, and on the second relay, I'm going to do what I thought I could do on the first, which is connect this to pin 30. And one thing I forgot to mention, but this is connected to ground. This is connected to ground. I actually have these two connected, makes it a lot easier. So one is just connected to the ground for two, but that's just the ground. So in case you all forgot why I'm not using that piece. So I said, all right, that's going to go into there, and that is going to connect to pin either 87 or 87A. That's always on, and that's going to be 87A. So I said, all right, pin 87A, you're going to come out and go to my running headlight. So with this setup right now, I know that if I turn on power to the headlight, it's going to go into this switch, go out there because this relay is not on or not active. So it's going to have these two connected. It will work. Check. So one check, can I turn on my running light? Just period. Yes. Check number two, can I turn on my turn signal? Period. Yes, because it is this relay, relay number one is getting constant power. And when this switch is activated, it is going to go up to here and then turn on my lights. Great. Now, the last piece is just, well, I want when the flasher is on, that one headlight piece, which is all in that ring, to turn off or not turn on. I also don't want it to flash. So what I did was say, all right, what is going to be my switch? My switch is not what I previously thought to be this switch here, but I need to figure out, okay, this is going to be what's going to turn this relay on, but what needs to be hooked up there? And I figured out it's actually just this one. So the first pin, 87 on this one is actually going to double as a switch for this one. So when 87 is turned on, it's going to activate the second relay. And what the second relay is going to do when it's active, it's going to transfer power from here to here. And what's here? Absolutely nothing. And so, but again, transfer power, what it's really doing is cutting off power here. So when this switch or this relay is active, it is turning off this relay and essentially not allowing constant power to the headlights. And yeah, and again, the reason why I didn't connect it like down here, which is I guess pretty obvious, is because if I connected these two, it would be switching the relay on and off, and that's essentially just using two relays to recreate the problem I already had. So that's what I did. All right, so if you thought my handwriting was messy, here is the setup. So these aren't the final relays that I'm actually going to use. I just had some laying around, so I wanted to check it before I put in my full order. But if I can get this out of the way, what you'll see is essentially just the way I hooked it up. So you'll see those 4 pins hooked up. This is the line coming out of my flasher. This is constant power going to the battery. This is going into the flasher and then into into the flasher and then into the amber and turn signal marker. It's also, since again when I cut it off of the unit over here, when I cut it off of the unit, it already had 2 wires coming out of it, which made it a lot easier, or 2 wires on the wire on the power side coming out of it. So all I had to do was make a connector, and that's what I connected to pin 86. Yeah, pin 86 on the second relay, and then again, nothing is hooked up to pin 87A in the middle. And then over here, I have, just go for pin 87A. So I got pin 87A going to the running light. I have, this is that double ground that I was telling you about. So I just grounded these 2 relays together. So I have one ground wire coming out. And then this on pin 30 is the switch to coming from the turn signal switch to the relay. And then that will be the constant power that goes out to the light on pin 87A, and then pin 87 is blank. So I check to see if it works. So I'm going to turn on the running light. It comes on, right? So I have power there. So it will turn on. And then I want to check and see if I turn on the turn signal switch, does it turn off? Yes, and it does, and it stays off, and that's what we wanted. So it does turn off and it stays off. A couple things to notice, and yeah, a couple things to notice, or really just one thing. Right over here, this is no longer blinking. The reason that it's no longer blinking is because of where we placed that relay. So my thought is the flasher relay. So my thought is that this flasher relay, when it was hooked up way back here, and you can see this is where I connected the blue, the red, and the red together, those three wires, just connect them together very badly and very loosely, actually. Put that in. But when it was connected there, it was also, even though it was flashing, sending a flashing signal to the lights, it was also, it was also sending a flashing signal to these, and I was hearing the relay inside of that click on and off, and that gave me that clicking sound. You don't hear any clicking, and then you see that this is solid. So, and then it comes back on when I turn it off, which is what I want. And if I do the blinker, it also activates too, but as you can see, these don't flash. So my thought there is if I took that apart, I could probably on the back end, so probably on this post or coming out of here, connect that back to this relay, disconnect some other things so that that relay will still have that clicking and it'll still be flashing on these lights. However, it's just not that important to me. So if you want to do that, if you figure out how to do that, by all means. The only thing that I wanted was for this to turn off, the running light to turn off completely when I use the flasher. And I wanted, when I turn it on, for it to come back. So that's all I wanted. I won't hear it flashing, which will be a thing. I won't hear it flashing or hear that clicking. So hopefully I remember to turn it off. But other than that, that's all we needed. So it does work, and it stands up to the test. So hopefully this helped you for your project or anything else that you might be doing.